When it comes to sexually escalating with a man, nothing creates a stronger, more lasting impact than beginning with emotional connection. It might seem counterintuitive in a culture that often rushes to the physical, but the truth is, when a man feels emotionally connected, his attraction deepens in a way that's far more compelling and enduring. Emotional connection is the invisible thread that ties together desire, trust, and intimacy. It creates a space where both of you feel safe to open up, to explore, and to let the relationship unfold in a powerful and authentic way. At its core, emotional connection is about presence. It's about showing up fully with your energy, your attention, and your heart. When you're present with a man, truly listening to him, engaging with who he is beyond the surface, it sparks something deeper in him. He feels seen, not just for what he does or how he looks, but for who he is. And that is incredibly rare. Most men move through life being admired for their accomplishments or appearance, but very few experience the kind of attention that affirms their soul. When you offer that, you become unforgettable. This kind of presence doesn't require you to say the perfect thing or perform in any way. It's about curiosity, asking meaningful questions, and genuinely wanting to hear the answer. It's about noticing the small things, the way he talks about his passions, how his eyes light up when he remembers a childhood memory, or how he reacts to the world around him. These are moments when you get to lean in, not just with your body, but with your energy. These are invitations to connect. As you build this emotional bridge, you're also giving him permission to relax. So many men walk around with emotional armor. They've been taught not to show too much, not to feel too deeply, not to risk vulnerability. But when they encounter a woman who can hold space for them, who listens without judgment, who responds with warmth and authenticity, it creates a powerful shift. He begins to trust that this isn't just about chemistry or the moment. It's about something that resonates deeper. And in that trust, the space for sexual connection expands. Emotional connection also heightens anticipation. When a man feels connected to you emotionally, every touch, every glance, every bit of flirtation becomes more charged. The smallest gestures start to carry a deeper weight. A simple brush of your hand or the way you look at him across a table becomes electric. Not because of the act itself, but because of the emotional energy behind it. He's not just reacting to your body, he's responding to the entire experience of you. That's where true sexual polarity lies. It's important to know that emotional connection isn't about being overly serious or intense. It can be playful, fun, lighthearted. Laughing together is one of the most underrated ways to create emotional closeness. When you share humor, when you tease each other in that safe, flirty way, you're letting your guards down. You're inviting each other into a shared moment of joy. That's connection. And that's foreplay. You also cultivate emotional connection by sharing parts of yourself, not in a way that overshares or overwhelms, but by letting him see who you really are. Share your passions. Talk about what excites you, what moves you, what challenges you. Speak from your heart. Men are drawn to women who are lit up from within. When you're turned on by your own life, your energy becomes magnetic. And when you allow him to witness that passion, it builds intimacy because you're trusting him with your truth. There's also something deeply attractive about emotional congruence. When what you say, what you feel, and how you act are in alignment, it builds trust. Men pick up on this even if they don't consciously know it. If you're saying you're fine, but your energy is distant, he'll feel the disconnect. But if you're emotionally honest, even about small things, it signals maturity, safety, and authenticity. That, in turn, invites him to show up with the same honesty. Starting with emotional connection also ensures that when physical intimacy does happen, it's not rushed or forced. It flows naturally. It becomes an extension of the connection you've already built, not a substitute for it. And that kind of intimacy is far more satisfying because it's real. It's not about trying to be sexy. It's about feeling sexy in his presence and allowing that feeling to be mirrored and magnified through mutual desire. When you've built an emotional bridge, the rest of the experience, the touches, the kisses, the deepening intimacy, all unfold with greater depth, passion, and joy. Owning your feminine power is not about fitting into someone else's mold of what a woman should be. It's about recognizing and embracing the unique energy, intuition, and presence that already lives within you. Feminine power isn't loud or demanding. It's deeply rooted, magnetic, and quietly fierce. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to dominate a room to be felt. It simply is. When you own your feminine power, you move through the world with a sense of certainty, grace, and softness that invites rather than chases, that attracts rather than convinces. At its core, feminine power is about being connected to yourself, to your body, your desires, your boundaries, and your emotions. When you're tuned into your inner world, you stop second guessing yourself or waiting for someone else to give you permission to feel what you feel. You begin to trust your instincts. That subtle gut feeling you get around someone, that twinge of discomfort when something doesn't feel right, that rising warmth when you're in a moment of pleasure or playfulness, these are not random reactions. They are your internal guidance system. The more you listen, the more you lead from a place of truth and clarity. Feminine power thrives on presence. It's about slowing down enough to actually experience the moment instead of racing through it. When you're present, men feel it. There's something captivating about a woman who's not distracted, not performing, but fully there. Whether you're laughing over coffee or sharing a quiet moment, your energy says, "I'm here, I'm grounded, I'm enough." That kind of presence draws men in because it's rare. It tells them that you value yourself, your time, and your experience, and that they should too. Owning your feminine power also means honoring your sensuality. Sensuality isn't just about sex. It's about experiencing life through your senses. It's the way you savor your food, the way you stretch when you wake up, the way you move to music, the way you dress in a way that feels good on your skin. It's allowing yourself to feel and not shutting down your body just because it might make someone else uncomfortable. When you walk into a room feeling alive and connected to your body, you don't need to try to be sexy. You simply are. That natural sensuality is incredibly attractive to men, not because it's provocative, but because it's confident. It's a woman saying, "I know who I am and I enjoy being me." True feminine power doesn't chase or compete. It doesn't need to manipulate or control. It knows that what is meant for it will come, and what isn't will fall away. This kind of power allows you to show up in dating and relationships without fear or neediness. You can flirt, you can tease, you can escalate sexually, not from a place of trying to get something, but from a place of enjoying the moment, trusting the connection, and staying true to yourself. That distinction changes everything. Men feel the difference between a woman who's trying to earn their attention and one who's simply expressing her desire because it feels good to do so. There is also power in vulnerability. Owning your feminine energy doesn't mean being invincible. It means being real. It means having the courage to express what you want, to say when something doesn't feel good, to set boundaries without apology. Feminine power holds space for both softness and strength, for both openness and discernment. A woman who can say no with love, or who can ask for what she wants without fear of being too much, is embodying power in its purest form. She is showing that her needs and desires matter, and that anyone who wants to be close to her must honor them too. Men are naturally drawn to feminine energy when it's authentic. When you're in your power, you create a safe, electric space that makes a man want to step up and meet you there. You don't need to push or prove. You simply need to be. The more you celebrate who you are, the more permission you give others to do the same. When you flirt or initiate intimacy from this place of grounded confidence, it lands differently. It's not about trying to impress him. It's about sharing your energy, your joy, your essence. That's irresistible. Using the power of suggestion is one of the most subtle, yet profoundly effective ways to create sexual tension and build intimacy with a man. It's the art of planting ideas, feelings, and desires without ever needing to say them directly. It's about creating an atmosphere, one where imagination, anticipation, and emotional build-up take the lead. Suggestion works because it speaks to the part of a man's mind that is naturally curious and responsive. It invites rather than demands. It seduces rather than states. And in doing so, it allows both of you to ease into intimacy with comfort, excitement, and trust. At the heart of suggestion is playfulness. It's that look you give him from across the room, the slight pause before you respond, the way your voice dips just a little lower when you're making a joke. It's in the subtleties, your tone, your timing, your gestures. You don't have to be overt or aggressive to spark desire. In fact, the less you say directly, the more space you leave for his imagination to roam. And when a man's imagination is engaged, he starts to feel connected to you in a different, deeper way. He's not just looking at you. He's experiencing you. This technique doesn't require you to be someone you're not. It's about amplifying the natural rhythm of connection by using nuance. For instance, a playful tease or a double entendre in conversation can carry a spark that lingers in the air long after the words are gone. Maybe you're talking about something completely ordinary. Food, travel, a shared interest. But the way you say it, the way you pause, the way you smile, it all suggests more. You don't need to spell anything out. You let him feel the possibility. The beauty of the power of suggestion is that it allows you to stay in control while still being deeply expressive. You can guide the energy of the interaction without ever feeling like you're chasing or overstepping. Suggestion gives you the freedom to be sensual without being exposed, inviting without being explicit. This kind of interaction builds trust and safety, especially for men who value emotional intelligence and connection just as much as physical attraction. It's a subtle signal that says, there's more here, but only if you're present enough to notice. Body language is one of your most powerful tools in this process. A glance that lingers half a second longer than usual. The way you lightly touch his arm when you laugh. The way you lean in just slightly when you're listening. These small movements, when aligned with your authentic energy, say volumes. You're not pushing anything, you're inviting. You're allowing the energy to build naturally, which makes the moment feel both electric and safe. Tone of voice also plays a critical role. When you soften your tone, lower your voice just slightly, or let it trail off at just the right moment, it pulls his attention in. Men are deeply responsive to vocal cues, especially when they're delivered with intention. You can be talking about absolutely anything. A book you're reading, a memory from childhood, your favorite dessert, and still create sexual energy, not through the topic itself, but through the rhythm and cadence of how you share it. It's about letting your presence do the talking. The power of suggestion also works through contrast. You can show up as sweet, funny, warm, and then drop in a look or a comment that carries a different, more sensual tone. That contrast catches his attention. It says, there's a deeper layer here. And that's what makes it so magnetic. It's the unpredictability, the not knowing, the slow unfolding that keeps a man engaged and wanting more. You're not giving everything away at once. You're allowing the story to unfold one page at a time. You can also use time and space as tools for suggestion. Let a moment breathe. Let silence hang for just a heartbeat longer than usual. Let the anticipation build. When you don't rush the energy, it amplifies the effect. The human mind fills in the blanks, and when you leave those blanks with a little mystery, a little intrigue, the emotional and sexual tension naturally increases. You're showing him that intimacy doesn't need to be rushed. It can be savored, and it's worth waiting for. What makes this so effective is that it creates a shared experience. It's not just about you trying to be sexy. It's about both of you tuning into something deeper, something felt but unspoken. Suggestion allows a man to step into his own desire, to take initiative, to explore the connection on his own terms, and that makes the experience mutual rather than one-sided. When you use the power of suggestion with grace and confidence, you open the door to intimacy in a way that feels natural, connected, and undeniably magnetic. You reading his cues and matching his energy is one of the most important skills you can develop when it comes to building sexual chemistry and emotional connection. It's the difference between a forced interaction and a flow that feels effortless. Every man communicates beyond just his words, through body language, tone, pace, presence, and the way he responds to you in real time. When you're attuned to those cues, you start to engage with him in a way that feels natural, aligned, and deeply intuitive. It's about being present enough to notice what's happening moment by moment and confident enough to adjust your own energy and response without losing your authenticity. When a man is into you, it shows. His body leans in, his eyes linger, his voice deepens, his responses become more engaged. These are not accidental signals. They are invitations. When you pick up on and mirror his level of interest, you create resonance. That resonance is what turns an ordinary interaction into chemistry. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not or performing for approval. It's about tuning in, feeling into the dynamic, and letting it evolve with awareness and intention. Sometimes his cues will be bold and obvious, and other times they'll be subtle. Maybe he touches your arm casually but intentionally, or he moves just a little closer to you when you're talking. Maybe his responses become more personal or vulnerable, or he starts to playfully tease you more. These are signs he's feeling more connected, more open, more attracted. Matching his energy in these moments might mean returning the touch lightly, leaning in closer, holding eye contact a little longer, or responding with your own playful tease. These small responses say, "I see you, I feel you, and I'm with you." But just as important as recognizing when to lean in is knowing when to lean back. If his energy pulls away, if he becomes quiet, distracted, or distant, it's not your job to chase. That's a moment to soften your approach, to give space, and to let the rhythm of the connection rebalance. This doesn't mean something is wrong. It simply means his nervous system, emotions, or mind might need a moment to reset. When you can sense that and respond with grace instead of anxiety, it shows emotional maturity. It shows that you're not reactive but responsive, that you're not desperate for a certain outcome, but grounded in your own center. Matching energy also involves pacing. If he's moving slowly, if the vibe is soft and deep, matching that with your tone, your gestures, and your words creates harmony. If the interaction is playful and fast-paced, bringing your own lightness and quick wit helps keep that momentum alive. This doesn't mean you have to change who you are. It just means you're attuned enough to meet him in the emotional space where he currently is. And that's where trust grows. Because when a man feels you really get him in the moment, that you're not just present, but tuned in, he relaxes. And when he relaxes, his attraction deepens. There's also a powerful feedback loop that happens when you read his cues and respond accordingly. The more accurately you tune into his signals, the more he feels seen. And when a man feels seen, he's more likely to reveal more of himself. He becomes more expressive, more curious about you, more comfortable taking the next step. This opens the door for deeper intimacy, emotionally and physically. And it happens not because you pushed it, but because you created an environment where that energy could naturally emerge. Part of matching energy is also knowing when to lead and when to follow. Sometimes a man may feel unsure of how to move forward, even if he's attracted. In those moments, a small confidence signal from you, a smile, a flirty comment, a light touch can give him the green light to step in more fully. And then you feel him rise to meet you. It's a dance of responsiveness where both people are contributing to the rhythm. You're not waiting passively, but you're also not forcing. You're co-creating a moment that feels alive, dynamic, and real. The more you practice this level of awareness, the more natural it becomes. You begin to trust your own instincts. You become less focused on what you should do and more attuned to what actually feels right in the moment. And that's where the magic is. In the space where both of you are present, open, and free to let the energy guide the experience. Matching energy isn't about strategy. It's about intimacy. It's about connection that doesn't need to be explained, only felt. And when you meet a man in that space, everything that follows, the flirtation, the escalation, the intimacy, unfolds with ease and authenticity. Communicating with clarity and class is one of the most empowering and attractive things you can bring into any romantic or intimate dynamic with a man. It's not just about what you say, it's how you say it, the intention behind your words, and the energy you carry when you speak. When you express yourself with honesty and grace, You immediately set the tone for how you want to be treated. You show a man that you value yourself, your needs, and your boundaries, while also being emotionally intelligent and respectful of his space and perspective. This level of communication invites connection, not confusion. It builds trust, not tension, and it turns potential moments of awkwardness into opportunities for deeper understanding and attraction. Clarity in communication starts with knowing what you want. It means taking the time to check in with yourself and getting honest about your desires, your boundaries, and your feelings. A woman who is clear with herself doesn't send mixed signals. She doesn't pretend to be okay with something when she's not. She doesn't suppress her feelings just to avoid rocking the boat. She speaks her truth, not to control or manipulate, but because her truth matters. And when she shares that truth with calmness, kindness, and intention, it commands respect. Men are not mind readers, and while subtle cues and flirtation have their place, direct communication is often what separates surface level attraction from genuine intimacy. When you can express something like, "I love spending time with you, and I also value moving slowly," or "I feel really good when you touch me like that," you're giving him a clear emotional roadmap. You're removing the guesswork and creating safety. And safety doesn't kill attraction. It intensifies it. Because when a man feels that he can trust what you say, that he's not constantly decoding your mood or guessing where he stands, he relaxes. And when he relaxes, the chemistry deepens. Class in communication doesn't mean being reserved or muted. It means being intentional and dignified in the way you express yourself. It's not about avoiding hard truths. It's about how you deliver them. Instead of reacting with sarcasm, shutdowns, or passive aggression, you speak with presence and poise. You might say, "That didn't feel good to me," instead of lashing out. Or, "I'm noticing I'm needing more reassurance." Instead of punishing him for not reading your mind. This isn't weakness, it's strength. And the kind of strength that invites a man to show up fully instead of withdrawing or getting defensive. This kind of communication also creates room for sexual escalation to happen in a way that's mutual and respectful. When you can say what feels good, what excites you, what you're curious about, all while staying true to your values, you're giving him the green light to connect more deeply. Men crave this level of clarity. It helps them feel confident, grounded, and safe to explore intimacy with you without fear of crossing lines or misreading the situation. You're not leaving things up to chance. You're co-creating the experience. Being clear also means being honest about what you're not ready for and doing so in a way that still feels warm and connective. Saying something like, "I'm really enjoying this moment, and I'd love to keep it right here for now," sends a message that you're present and receptive, but also in alignment with your boundaries. It allows for chemistry to build without pressure. It shows that your body and heart are not available on demand, but that they are open to real connection. That balance is deeply attractive. Another part of communication with class is listening. Real communication isn't just about being heard, it's about hearing. When you listen with curiosity instead of judgment, you create a dynamic where he feels safe to open up. And the more a man feels he can open up to you, the more emotionally available he becomes. Listening without interrupting, without jumping to fix or change him, shows emotional maturity. It communicates that you're not just there for the fun, but for the depth as well. And that kind of listening often leads to conversations and moments that ignite not just sexual tension, but real emotional intimacy. Ultimately, when you bring clarity and class into your communication, you raise the standard. You show a man that you are not afraid to speak your truth, but that you will do it with kindness and integrity. You create a connection that is clean, compelling, and real. You set the stage for sexual escalation that isn't rushed or confusing, but natural, respectful, and deeply desired. And in doing so, you give both of you the freedom to show up fully, to explore openly, and to connect in a way that's as lasting as it is passionate.